In this video, we're going to go head-to-head with comparing the coding capabilities of GPT-5 and Opus 4.1. We're going to be creating a Kanban or a Kanban task tracker, whichever part of the world you're in, that is functional. Okay, it will just be using mock data, but I want to be able to create tasks, organize them, drag them across boards, nice dashboard layout. Let's first take a look at the wireframes, and then we'll jump into the starting prompt. So here's the wireframe, typical dashboard layout. I've got search for tasks at the top. I've got some filtering happening in this particular section, and we have to do, in progress, and done statuses. Now I want to be able to pick up and move tasks through the different statuses, and I also want to be able to potentially create some projects. Now, because I actually teach development within Cursor, I'm taking a slightly different approach to most of these videos that I've already seen, which is most videos will say, create me a game, create me Flappy Bird, create me something that I'm never going to actually need as a developer. So I think going through this process really helps me understand how GPT and Opus, their thought process and how they achieve this particular task. And we already understand how task trackers work. It's not hard, but some of this functionality is a little bit tricky. I actually don't care about a one-shot implementation here. I might do multiple turns and just let it try get to an end result, let's say within about 10 minutes. Okay, so I actually used GPT-5 to expand a very simple paragraph about what I wanted to create a technical specification. So this is actually part of the test. So we're going to create this Kanban board that matches a wireframe, that uses the wireframe as a guide. All right, we're going to use Next.js, TypeScript, going to use Shadcn and Tailwind, of course. Got a data model that's quite basic. Got my instructions, drag and drop, delete to remove card. We're using local storage for persistence, not a database at this stage, because I just want to test the functionality. And I'll talk about performance, security, and potential file structure and some acceptance criteria. And then I'm basically telling it what not to do. On the right-hand side, I have uploaded the image that we've had a look at for the low fidelity wireframe, and I've attached the PRD. And I've said you're a world-class UI designer, and we need to turn our low fidelity wireframe into a beautifully functional and production-ready Kanban board. Use your skills to bring this wireframe to life. To get started on the task, review the PRD, then install Shadcn core components and configure Tailwind. Okay, so I'm being quite direct here from experience. I know that this is just a better thing to do. It's easy to do. I may as well just do this just in case it wants to create its own component library. I want to use Shadcn. It just makes sense for this task. I wanted to quickly let you know about my 2 flagship Coding with AI courses. The first course teaches you how to build a complete full-stack SaaS app using Cursor. You'll integrate essential tools like Stripe for payments, AI services, and email, all while building with Next.js, Supabase, and Vercel. It's everything you need to go from zero to production-ready web apps. The second course is for anyone who wants to build a native mobile apps with Cursor. You'll learn how to create a fully functional app with in-app payments, push notifications, AI features, and email integrations. And you'll finish by deploying your app to the Apple App Store and Google Play. And the best part, you don't need to know how to code. I'll teach you how to think like a product engineer and guide the AI model to build your app with you. If there's ever been a time to learn how to build with AI, it's right now. So come join me. Okay, so the job just stopped and I've asked it to continue. There is also no to-do list, and I'm kind of finding it a little bit difficult to basically track what it wants to do. I'm seeing the thought process, but I'm not actually seeing the tasks that it's tackling. It's not that clear to me at the moment. All right, so we're done. It took about 5 or 6 minutes. Kind of hard to follow along because as it's thinking, it's paragraphs of text, which difficult to read, moves through it quite quickly. I could see the files that it was working on, but I would have preferred a to-do list or just something that would show me where it is in the actual process, because what I did like is it tried to build the app, an optimized build after creating the first version and before running it. great. But then when I was trying to fix things, it wasn't sort of overly clear what it was trying to fix and where it was in that process. So we've got to the end and let's take a look. Okay, so it looks like we have a problem. State columns is not iterable in our useboard.ts file. So I'm going to just, I'm just going to copy this. I guess I can also use the copy command here, but that actually pulls in a lot more stuff that I don't want. So I'm going to copy that in. Error on load. And actually, I don't mind this. Okay. The main thing is that it builds. I can get further on with less prompts. So this is to be expected. I'd say 90% of the time, regardless of the model, I would definitely have a couple of errors to fix when it first loads. Have no problem with that. All right, here it is. And I must say, I am quite impressed. It kind of looks like the wireframe in terms of it kind of looks like a wireframe. But I think I mentioned it needs to be minimal, functional, and nicely laid out. So that's what this is. But let's test it. Let's search for tasks. So let's find one. All right, let's search for design. And I have, one design. Let's move unit testing to in progress. Okay, that worked. UI is not great in terms of, although I can move these around, I'm not sort of seeing any indicators that helps show me where to drop it. But that's okay. That's functional. What about filtering is functional? What about adding a task? Interesting. Okay. It's a GEO work instead of SEO work. Test. Let's add development and add. Okay, good. Can I edit a task? Don't think so. Ah, the task is gone. Let's try that again. Let's say performance. Improving performance. Development, add, and I want to drag this now here. Okay, so running into an issue there. And we're just using, it's probably actually using local storage or just state persistence here. But I'm not going to click that. I'm going to ignore it. What I wanted to actually see is if I can scroll on these. Let's just see what this issue is. Yeah, it's definitely a logic issue here. What happens here? If I click this, nothing, that's fine. No way to collapse this sidebar. But that's okay. So it feels like GPT-5 followed instructions, didn't really use too much intuition or didn't try too hard in the design, just kept everything very basic. I guess that's pretty good as a starting point. I was expecting a bit more on the design, actually. This just looks like unstyled components. Looks like ShadCN, which is supposed to be sort of starting components that you're supposed to actually edit and make your own brand and design. Sorry, but overall, I think pretty good. I'm going to give it maybe a 6. A few issues. Wasn't overly impressed with the process compared to Claude that I'm used to, and we're going to have a look at that next. But I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I think it did above average job, but nothing that good. Let's turn our attention to Opus now. So same prompt again. You're a world-class UI designer, and we need to turn our low-fidelity wireframe into a beautiful, functional, and production-ready Kanban board. Let's do it. Okay, all 14 tasks were completed. What I loved about the process here is being able to watch what it's doing with clarity. To-do list, 14 tasks. I'll watch each task be completed. There were some tests that were ran, and at the very end, it gives me a beautifully designed summary. Here's the summary here. Okay, I'm going to keep all and let's have a look. Okay, we've run into one error here. I'm just going to copy the error and continue. And this I actually don't mind at all. What I care about is that if I'm going to spend an hour or so on a task, that I can eventually get to a really good output. So a few bugs here and there don't matter at all. For me, it's part of the process. I don't think that's going to slow me down too much. Right, here are the results. So sidebar, looks like we have our 3 status columns. I wonder if we can drag, when I hover, got the little drag icon and this little icon here. Wow, okay. So unit testing to in progress. I love how the card changes shape here. Brilliant. Look at that. Underneath, bring this across here. Wow, I'm impressed. What about the filter? Yep, that's working. What about searching for tasks? So let's search for design. Yep, that works. Fuzzy search. What about adding a task? So let's select development, develop an app. This is the description. Priority to low, create. Well, I misspelled that, so let's try edit it. Let's try edit. Develop an app. Well, progress tracker. That's quite clever. So the progress tracker appeared only when we could edit the app. That's great insight. Update the task. Here we can see the progress. Let's move it to in progress. Move to the top maybe. Finally, we're done. Wow, this is great. Well, I didn't ask for anything to be functional here, but the layout is pretty good. Looks like we can collapse it, but I was expecting this to be maybe a bit more centered. Perhaps I'm asking a lot here. But for the most part, what I asked for, it did. The design is pretty good as a starting point. I think the functionality is impressive for what it is, okay? First prompt, fixed a few issues, and then we have a pretty solid starting point. I'm happy with this. Well, can we delete one? Delete design. Are you sure? Small issue down here, but that has been deleted and we can scroll. Done. Planning. Awesome. So the results, I'm going to give Opus probably a 9 out of 10 for my expectation and my experience, what I thought we could achieve with this. Super impressed with Opus. Clear winner at this stage. I also prefer the way the model feeds back information when it's working in agent mode. So overall, happy with Opus. And for now, GPT-5 is out the door and I'm going to continue with Opus 4.1.